It's like 2:30 in the morning right now for me, and I just remembered that Ludo-Narrative Dissonance is a thing that exists, and I began thinking about it, and came up with some ideas, and I thought, what the hell? Might as well do a video explaining what Ludo-Narrative Dissonance is in terms of just storytelling in general. So to begin, let's discuss what a story is, um, which is a pretty complicated question, I think, because a story is many things. It involves characters struggling to achieve a goal. There's a beginning, middle, and end, usually. There's some conflict and some resolution. But at its very most basic, a story is a cause and an effect. And that is it. Every story ever told has been every good story has been a cause and an effect, and usually we're given some things beforehand, some establishing characters and facts and information that we'll just call givens, that relate to the causes and the effects and all that, but generally there's a cause and an effect. So any story whatsoever, you can go from like Star Wars or like Proust and Shakespeare, whatever, to the simplest story of like warning guard dog, and that's like warning guard, like that's a setup, for a story. It's the conveyance of information through cause and effect. And to prove that, I made a little sketch going through a fairy tale, one of our simplest and most enduring stories, to prove like that relation of cause and effect, which is Little Red Riding Hood. The story we should all know by now. We are given at the beginning of the story the kind of characters and inciting incident, which is that Grandma is sick, Mom has baked cookies, and told Little Red Riding Hood to go to Grandma's house. And that's why Little Red Riding Hood leaves her home and heads off to Grandma's. And we are also given that Mom told Little Red Riding Hood to stay on the path and do not talk to strangers, which creates our conflict. So we have the cause of her going out, and then we have her outside walking to Grandma's house when she's approached by a wolf. And the wolf says, "Hi, Little Red Riding Hood, what do you have in your basket there?" And Little Red Riding Hood immediately breaks the first rule and talks to the wolf, talks to the stranger, right? And she says, "Oh, I have some cookies for my grandma. She lives over that way." And the wolf says, "Oh, cookies, great. They smell really good. And you have to get them to Grandma's? Well, I know a shortcut. So it's just off the path through the woods, and you'll get to Grandma's even faster." So we have the breaking of the second rule. And these breaking of the rules, these events, are the effect of her going out, and they cause our next event, which is Little Red Riding Hood gets over to Grandma's house, and the wolf is in the bed, and you have, oh, what big eyes those are, what big ears those are, blah, 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 all that stuff. So Little Red Riding Hood is now in danger, right? And that is the effect of her breaking the mother's rules. And like that, that causes, well, it's not an immediate cause, but her being in danger then results in the ending, which is the hunter coming in, shooting the wolf. And her breaking the rules and being in danger causes, the effect of that is Little Red Riding Hood learns a lesson. She learns to pay attention to her mother, and to not talk to strangers, and to stick to the path and all that. So the whole story is a series of causes and effects that lead to the conclusion, which is the realization of the conceit of the story, which is the moral, listen to your parents. And the whole story is in service of that. Now, from here to here, it's not a causal relationship in terms of like plot. It's causal and effect is related to morality, related to the lesson. And the story, again, is entirely in service of the lesson. The cause and effect doesn't have to be, nothing caused the hunter to come by. But that hunter coming by helped the story realize what it wanted to say. And so the cause and effect was not important as to why the hunter killed the wolf or anything. The cause and effect important there was why, what did we learn? What's the effect of all of this happening, of all these previous causes? So in gameplay, aside from just narrative storytelling, aside from characters and plot, we have the actual interaction of the game. And when people talk about Ludo-Narrative, that's kind of what they're talking about. They're talking about game mechanics as storytelling device. And so if we think again in terms of cause and effect, that means Ludo-Narrative, or with Ludo-Narrative, with gameplay, the player is the cause. The player doing something is the cause that creates Ludo-Narrative effect. So taking another very simple example with Mario Brothers, the player pushes a button and Mario jumps. Cause, button, effect, Mario jumps. And of course there are many different variations. Mario could jump over a gap, Mario could jump onto an enemy, which causes the enemy to die. But the main cause and effect is button press, jump, and the success of that relationship is what makes the game fun. Jumping in Mario is itself fun because it is part of the story. Again, cause, effect, button, jump. That is fun because that is a cause and effect relationship that we are a part of, we interact with. And it does tie into the narrative element, to the storytelling element of Mario Brothers 2, which is, of course, that Bowser kidnaps Peach, which is an inciting incident. This causes Mario to rescue Peach, right? And go through the whole game, cause and effect. Again. And then with gameplay, with the jumping the whole jumping thing, tying in again, Mario jumping on things or over pits helps him overcome obstacles, which helps resolve the narrative goal of him saving the princess. So the Ludo narrative of player pressing the button helps the game come to the narrative effect of Mario saving the princess. It's all related and it feels really good to do that. That's why the game is fun. That's where it comes from, is us interacting with the Ludo narrative, which interacts again with the overall narrative. And so we finally come to the term of Ludo-Narrative Dissonance. Now, dissonance, of course, is when something doesn't feel right. Emotional dissonance is when you have two conflicting ideas or emotions that make you feel uncomfortable. So narrative dissonance is when something in the narrative conflicts with another thing in the narrative. And taking it again back to cause and effect, it means that the cause and effect doesn't line up. Either something happens without a cause and without a previous given that it will happen, or the cause and effect just don't match up. The cause should not cause the effect that it does. So if we go to Mario again, with Ludo-Narrative Dissonance, one version of that could be you press the button, same button press, and Mario rockets into the air, and then stays there, and then a couple minutes later falls down way far away from where he started. And this could be a form of Ludo-Narrative Dissonance because the input does not match the output. The cause should not lead to the effect that it has. Another example of this could be if you start a first-person shooter, and you grab a pistol, and you shoot it, and it explodes. Like, whatever was in there explodes and kills 3 enemies. And that doesn't feel right. That feels overpowered. One genre I feel that handles Ludo narrative really well is fighting games, because the input and the output, are related very tightly. The complexity of the combinations, the difficulty of getting your moves out is directly tied to how effective that move is against the other player. And that's really important. It's really easy to get Ludo-Narrative Dissonance there because you could have, a killer combo. And this is something that happens in the metagame and tournament scenes a lot, is certain moves will be like, oh, this move is overpowered because it's too easy to do and has too great an effect. And that causes unrest in the fighting community. Another form of Ludo-Narrative Dissonance, and this is the one that a lot of people tend to talk about when they talk about Ludo-Narrative Dissonance, is when the gameplay mechanics don't tie into the narrative. So as you discussed in Mario Brothers, the narrative and the gameplay mechanics are tied together pretty well, because jumping is fun, jumping helps the narrative go along, and it all follows the story. Mario has to jump on Goombas and Koopas to save the princess. One game that I feel has a lot of Ludo-Narrative Dissonance is Batman Arkham City, because as a given, we are told that Batman does not like to kill. Batman fights non-lethally. This is something that's been part of his character for like 75 years now. And the game then gives us a tank. And tanks are great. Like, it's the Batmobile, but it goes like 200 miles per hour, you're running over people, you're shooting people with very high caliber rounds that feel lethal. The way that the cause and effect of running over someone or pushing the button, doing the combo, like the fighting thing when you're mid-combo and you can flip into the air and highlight someone blue and make the Batmobile shoot them, that feels way too powerful. That feels lethal. And it causes dissonance between the mechanic, which feels very powerful, and the narrative, which is that Batman is non-lethal. Batman does not kill. When it feels like it should kill. And so there's a lot of dissonance there. Another big example of that is in Tomb Raider, the reboot, where you have Lara Croft, who's a stranded archaeologist who doesn't want to fight, who hates fighting, who never picked up a gun. And that's part of the narrative, and then the story, and then the gameplay, rather, has her performing headshots and killing dozens, if not hundreds of people. And the cause there and the effect, it just doesn't tie together very well, which creates, weird storytelling stuff that doesn't quite make sense. And that is my short little thing on Ludo-Narrative Dissonance. Just wanted to make this video for whatever reason. It was on my mind, I guess. So I hope you enjoyed. Maybe you learned something. If you like this video, please rate it, subscribe. If you want more of these sorts of things, which I don't normally do, leave them in the comments, and I'll try and think of more things. Or you can ask for me to explain some things, I guess, and I can try and do that maybe with some drawings if you like those too. But yeah, thank you for watching, and hopefully see you again sometime.